Welcome everyone to the Pink Ribbon Roller Coaster. I'm so glad you joined us today. I am really excited about this special guest. I am honored to have Shannon Miller with us today. If you guys don't know her, which I'm sure you do, she is one of the most decorated gymnasts in American history with 7 Olympic medals and 9 World Championship medals to her name. She's a 2-time Olympian and a member of the legendary 1996 Magnificent One team. Shannon, she became the first U.S. gymnast to win back-to-back world all-around titles. Beyond her athletic experience, she's a successful author, she's an entrepreneur, cancer survivor, and more who chooses to use her platform to advocate for women's health and wellness. And today she joins us to share her journey and strength and the lasting impact of pursuing excellence in and out of the. So welcome, Shannon. I'm so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.
So, side note, just so you guys know, Shannon and I actually went to elementary school together. So this is definitely really special to me. We were actually in 4th and 5th grade together and we were friends. And so it's kind of funny that our paths have crossed back again. So I'm so delighted that she got to be with us. But first, I just wanted to ask you, take us back to the moment when you first learned of your diagnosis. Tell us about that and what went through your mind.
Well, thank you for having me on, and it has been great to be able to reconnect with you over the years, albeit for maybe not the greatest reason, but it's wonderful to have a friend to be able to talk to about all the things we go through. So, for me, the moment of diagnosis was a little bit backward. I went in for an appointment the fall of 2010, and 2010 had been a great year. I had launched my company that summer devoted to women's health and wellness, helping women make their health a priority, fitness, nutrition, all the good stuff. And as we moved into the fall, I was actually hosting a radio show at the time, and we were talking a lot about cancer and awareness, the importance of early detection, getting to those doctor's appointments, all those good things. And it was about that time I saw that I was going to be out of town for my next exam. And I called up thinking, what everyone does, I'll push it to maybe a little later, maybe early next year after the holidays when I have time. And when I got on hold, the receptionist put me on hold, and I just felt this incredible weight of guilt, of not walking the walk, of doing the thing I was asking of others. And so it was that morning I asked for an earlier appointment. They had a cancellation that morning, and I drove over, and it was that morning that they found a baseball-sized cyst on my left ovary.
Wow.
I had no idea what that even meant, and my world just stopped. They said, basically, don't move, don't do anything. Plans of baby number 2, nope, stop. We don't want you doing yoga. We need to figure out what's going on here. And all I could think about was, is it cancer? And yet, of course, we had no idea. It was a whirlwind of tests and scans. So it wasn't until early January when I woke up from surgery that I found out that it was a rare form of ovarian cancer. No ovarian cancer in my family that I'm aware of. This was a very rare form. And that's what I woke up to.
Wow.
I think at that point there was kind of a mentality shift for me. You go through these different portions of diagnosis and treatment and just all the stuff, and there's none of it that's easy.
Right.
But I think the portion initially of what they call wait and observe was so horrific for me because you kind of walk around like a zombie physically, but also mentally and emotionally, and you watch as if everyone else is just going on with their life. They've got their to-do lists, and they're, angry about traffic, and they're happy about a vacation and holidays. And you're in this bubble just thinking, is my son going to have a mother?
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Thank you for your vulnerability, because that's really where our focus comes here. Because like you just said, you don't know what you don't know when you are thrust into this roller coaster, hence the name. But obviously, I feel like as survivors, and that's what our audience is, That's why we want community, because we get it a different way, right? Just like you said, you feel like you are in a bubble walking around, like everybody else's life is going on, but you're trying to figure out, "Am I gonna live?" So it's like, and, even you, with all the success that you've had, everything that you've endured through your life, how do you feel background as an athlete influenced your approach towards cancer?
It's interesting. What I took from my journey in gymnastics and Olympic training, and there's exciting parts and good parts and tough parts. But what I took from that is the importance of goal setting, the importance of a positive mindset. Certainly, my faith is first and foremost, but there's also that positive mindset and the
Mhm.
mental aspect that's so important. The importance of teamwork, which I really had kind of gotten away from. I kind of left that in the gym when I left gymnastics. I'd forgotten to apply it to the rest of my life. And so that was really hard for me. And that was a whole first week of chemo story there. There's also the importance of what I call in business, what I call in athletics is this commitment to excellence. But really for, health and wellness, it's not really about excellence. It's really about this idea that we're giving 100%, right? That we're bringing our best. Now, some days my best was walking around the dining room table twice.
Mhm.
Some days my best was, can I get dressed and brush my teeth
Yeah.
today? And then we'll call that a win.
Yes.
But it's just about having that goal and then finding the strength to take that next forward step. So those are the things that I tended to rely on through the cancer journey. They're the things that I rely on again in business, in parenthood, certainly in gymnastics, with my health and wellness moving forward. They're things that we can all identify with, whether it's a health challenge or anything else that we're going through.
Mhm. That's awesome, because honestly, like, I wouldn't necessarily thought of it that way, but that's totally true, especially because there's so much of this journey that we can't control. And it's like that is the one thing that I can do. And so it gives you that sense of success and that drive to continue on. Because a lot of times I feel like I've heard this by multiple survivors, and I'm sure you have as well, how people say, "You're such a fighter, you're such a thriver, and you're so strong." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't feel strong at all, just doing the things that they're telling me to do. And I know on the outside looking in, that's probably what it looks like. But as a survivor, like oftentimes it didn't feel like that to me. Did it feel like that to you? I mean, especially being so successful and so driven, so strong. Like, did you feel that pressure?
I did not feel strong at all. No, yes, in many
Yeah.
ways. I think it's interesting because, everyone comes to a diagnosis and this cancer journey from a different place. I'm very much an introvert.
Me.
I know I know a lot of extroverts, that are going through the journey, and they are excited to do this, to do that, to be at the events, to talk about it. Um, all of those things, that's not my comfort zone.
Hmm.
I came to speaking about my diagnosis kinda kicking and screaming a little bit,
Yeah.
but more so because I felt like I had this platform from the Olympics. I had this platform as an advocate for health and wellness, um, that it was important because the more we talk about these things, the more we create that community, we have that team, we create that hope, and we also share the importance of awareness and
Mhm.
all of those things. But for me, it was an interesting dynamic because I was so weak. I lost about 10 pounds just within that week of having surgery, just because of the surgery, because of the things I had to do. And I lost a ton of muscle during chemotherapy. There were many days I didn't get out of bed.
Mhm.
If I could get, like I said, I mean, quite literally, if I could get out of bed, brush my teeth, which usually I had to sit down at some point halfway through brushing
Mhm.
my teeth and rest my arm.
Wow.
I was that weak. If I could do those small things, and it was a good day, and it wasn't every day. And as I embraced this idea of team, as I really started to think about those lessons learned through sport, and I started setting goals for myself, and I started learning about the importance of getting outside in fresh air and how that can help with your nausea.
Mhm.
Gentle fitness regimens that can also help with the fatigue and the nausea. As I began to implement those things, hydration, protein, things got better.
Mhm.
But to your point earlier, you don't know what you don't know. And
Mhm.
so I kind of had to learn as I went. There wasn't as much available 15 years ago as there is
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
Um, but I think, for me, what the really important thing about strength is we all have it.
Mhm.
We all have it. Forget about physical strength. I'm talking
Mhm.
about true inner strength
Mhm.
to find a way to take that next forward step, no matter how small it might be. Can I just put one foot in front of the next? Can I do the next thing that I have to do? And that is strength. And
Mhm.
I truly believe that we never know how strong we truly are until we have to be. And cancer makes you have to be.
Right. That's so good. You've mentioned this several times talking about team. So I'm curious, who or what was your greatest source of support during treatment?
Well, my greatest support was just my faith, and really, really leaning into that in so many ways. As far as like team that was around me, I went through an interesting phase where when I was first diagnosed, it had already been weeks of um, just kind of wandering through life, wondering what was going on, fearing the absolute worst. And then after the diagnosis and after finding out that I would need to go through a pretty aggressive chemotherapy regimen, that mentality kind of changed. And it was, okay, I'm going to do this. I can get this. My goal was to get through my oncologist's goal was for me to get through chemo without stopping. It was going to be a very kind of strict regimen.
Mhm.
And so, I put on the Rocky uh, pet talks, and then I'm ready to go. And I just was going to do this. I wasn't going to be a burden to anyone. I wasn't
Yes.
going to complain. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be a bother.
Yeah.
Everyone else had it was kind of the bother for the first, 4 or 5 weeks as I was just kind of trying to figure out what was going on as everyone was telling me it's going to be okay. And I kept thinking, but how do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I kind of had that mental shift. But then when I decided I was going to do it all myself, well, that doesn't work. You can't do
Mhm.
this all yourself, and
Yeah.
nor should you.
Right.
And so it was really for me the first week of chemotherapy where I realized there was no possible way I could do this alone. And it wasn't about complaining. It wasn't about being a burden to others. It was about understanding that there is strength in not only accepting help when offered, but in asking for help when it's needed. And when I finally broke down and asked for help, I mean, the floodgates opened, and it's friends, it's family, it's neighbors,
Mhm.
and they're all waiting to help.
Yes, they
I
are.
do,
Yeah.
and they just need to know what.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then you've got your medical team, but if you don't talk to your medical team, if you don't tell them what you're going through, I was horrible nausea and fatigue, and one nurse one day finally she had squatted right down by the chair I was in getting chemo, and she got right in my face and said, "Shannon, you have to tell me what's going on. I can tell you are not doing well, but I can't help you if you don't speak to me, if you don't tell me." And it wasn't that I didn't want to talk to her. I didn't know I could. I didn't want to
Right.
be, oh, here's that Olympian. Oh, she's so tough in the gym and she's
Yeah.
complaining about nausea. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just one of those moments where that nurse just made it crystal clear that, hey, I'm here to help, but you just need to let me. And
Mhm.
that changed my world.
Right. That's so true. I felt the same way of constantly feeling like a burden to everyone around, which is so untrue. And you're exactly right. They're waiting for us to tell them how they can help. And honestly, I had to get to a place too where I realized I had to humble myself because I think that I was stealing an opportunity to them to be a blessing. And it really is a team effort. And it really is people want to bring you food and they want to like come and sit with you and they want to do these things, but as an introvert too, like you, it's hard for me to let people in and talk about stuff or even let people sit with me. But once I started doing that, I was like, okay, this is a lot easier once people are doing it together. I was curious, did you have a community of survivors around you? Because I didn't know anybody when I went through it the first time, and that felt very, very isolating. I didn't feel like I could relate to anyone, and so I kept a lot of things in. And that kind of led me to a place mentally and emotionally, um, that was toxic and not good. And so, like you, I wasn't speaking, I wasn't sharing anything, but honestly, I didn't know how to process a lot of it too. And so that's where I got stuck a little bit. Did you have anything like that, or were you able to kind of push through mentally and
I didn't have a lot of, support in that way around me. I just didn't know of what support groups and as an introvert, and not feeling very well. I mean, I barely left the house,
Mhm.
and if I had any kind of if I had a day where I felt good, I was gonna spend that with my son,
Yeah,
not going to a group. But I now know, years later, I look back and I think, "Wow, I missed such an incredible opportunity," and granted, there might not as have been as many opportunities 15 years ago as there
right.
is today, but I missed an opportunity, and I think I would have had an easier path. I think it would have been, not easy, but easier,
Mm,
if I had, um, tried to find more support in the area. One thing that was interesting to me is that, I had been a caregiver on the other side. My mother is a cancer survivor, different kind of cancer, not genetically linked, and she had been diagnosed in 2008. And so I didn't even think about it at the time that I was a patient. But at the time that I was, going through this with her, I was the caregiver. I was the one on the outside, the team member saying, "What can I do? Please just give me anything. I will
mhm,
do whatever it is, if I can help you in some little bitty way, please let me do it." And I forgot that. I forgot that feeling of someone wanting to help, and so you're exactly right. When we don't, ask for help, when we don't tell people what we need, we're also kind of stripping them of giving that grace, of giving that blessing, because as a caregiver, as a friend, as a family member, as a loved one, you will do anything to
yep,
help someone to ease the burden just a little bit.
mm,
And I think that's so important. As far as, finding a community, finding support, I would encourage, anyone going through a cancer diagnosis, or if you know someone going through it, talk to your nurse navigator.
mhm,
They usually are kind of they have the pulse of what's going on in the community and what opportunities are there.
mm,
Um, for me during that time, I was kind of inundated with so much email, a little bit of social media, but I wasn't really that much on social media even at that time. It scares me, but
going,
but inside, I would get some email, I would get some fan mail. My office would send that over, and I would read these letters, and they wanted information, what I was going through, but also they shared their stories with
mm,
me. And I found so much hope and so much because I love reading. So I
mm,
would read books about, people going through incredible challenges. Didn't have to be cancer, could be
mhm,
anything, but
sure,
overcoming things, being
yeah,
an underdog and coming back and all of those great things. I've always been a sucker for that. I love it.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
I would read books, but I would read these letters. And it gave me a feeling that there were other people out there going through things that were similar and they were overcoming and I could do the same. And so I think no matter who you are or how you want to feel that community, there is something there for you.
mm,
You can do it from behind your computer. You don't have to leave the house. If you want to go to groups, there's often so many available. There are great events, 5Ks and lunches and, all kinds of things where you can get together with people where there's hope and happiness and fun or tips and tricks. There were
mm,
people and gatherings that I eventually would start going to, and I realized, gosh, I wish I had gone to these because there were so many tips of things I could
yeah,
have done differently and better and had less
right,
side effects. And
Mhm.
better quality of life, and so it is so important to reach out and get help from others.
Um, okay, so I have one more question I want to ask you. Looking back, what would your past self on day, what would you tell your past self on day one of your diagnosis?
Oh, goodness. Um, so I think it goes back to my diagnosis being a little bit backward and that I kind of went through the mental anguish leading up to the diagnosis. And then once I had the diagnosis and learned that it was ovarian cancer, but they had caught it early, it was kind of that, okay, now all hands on deck, let's go. Um, so I guess maybe even what I would say day one of them finding this cyst would be, um, I don't know, because it depends on whether I know the outcome or not.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I think sometimes you just have to trust the process, but at the same time, continue to ask questions along the way. And
That's
that's
good.
one thing, and I didn't do that much. I I relied very heavily on what people were telling me, and that it ended up being a great thing for me. I had wonderful physicians that really took every single step, made every step correctly in my
Mhm,
case, and I
mhm.
am so fortunate for that. But it's also important to really take control of your own health and your own health care. So
That's so
don't
good.
don't be afraid to get a second opinion or a third opinion or, tell them if something else is going on. Um, Trust your gut.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that I should have told myself before they even found the cyst.
Mhm.
And I say that because I had 3 of the 4 major signs of ovarian cancer and had completely written them off as just benign women issues, that I shouldn't worry about. Why should I worry that I lost weight? I mean,
Right.
I
Uh,
just had a baby. I will lose weight,
yeah.
great. Kind of all those things that you just write off. And so
Mhm.
maybe that's even the more important point for me was what would I tell myself before the cancer diagnosis? And I would
Mhm.
say, listen to your body.
Yes, that's so good. I love that because you're exactly right, and being young too, I think knowing, like, you have choices that you can advocate for yourself, and I think that what you've done with your life now, I mean, you were doing that before, but I feel like it's even catapulted your vision and mission to be, even more steadfast doing, and so I just admire you so much and using your journey, in a hopeful way, and I totally get it being an introvert and
Yeah.
going to meaning that your willingness to do that, to see the impact that you are making in so many people's lives is incredible. So I, again, just wanna say thank you for being with us today. I'm so grateful that God has reconnected us in a strange way, but honored to know you. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all you're doing for survivors out there.